From our newsroom in New York, in color, this is the CBS Evening News, with Harry Reisner substituting for Walter Cronkite, and Eric Seberine in Washington, Dan Rather in Washington, Don Webster in the Mekong Delta, Murray Fromson in Chicago, Steve Rowan in Washington, and Joe Abril in Miami.
Good evening. At least 4 persons were reported killed today when a Dominican Airlines DC-4 cargo plane crashed along a highway while attempting an emergency landing at Miami Airport. Joe Abril of station WTVJ reports.
As the plane began its frantic effort to return to the airport, it lost its engine, banked to the left, and started down 36th Street. As it did, it clipped the telephone pole and tore off the roof of the Ryan Medical Center just beyond 32nd Avenue and on 36th Street. Miss Marie Cruz just told me how she was sitting on her desk on the 2nd floor of that medical building, and suddenly she thought the world had ended as the roof was torn from above her head 2 feet, and the debris fell on her, and she scrambled out of the building. The plane went on, skipped the next 2 buildings, and dove into an auto paint and body shop on 36th Street. The plane literally exploded at that point. One wing continued on down the street. It now lies twisted in the middle of 36th Street. Right next to it is a white delivery truck, which evidently crashed into a telephone pole. One witness said he saw the driver being carried away without his legs. At the moment, they're still trying to extinguish the last smoldering flames in the auto paint body shop, which was the impact area of most damage. And at the bottom of that debris, they still don't know exactly what they will find. It's a grim task indeed.
Every second can be a painful throb when you have a headache. This is Bufferin. Of the 3 leading headache tablets, Bufferin goes to work fastest. Its pain reliever starts to your headache in just 60 seconds. Minutes later, relief. Relief without the stomach upset plain aspirin can cause. Faster, gentler Bufferin. The brand doctors specify most of all leading brands you can buy.
I myself don't use new Dry-Ban antiperspirant, but my reputation is spotless.
Oh, but your shirts aren't.
Introducing new Dry-Ban, the antiperspirant spray. Most sprays only stop odor, but new Dry-Ban also helps stop perspiration wetness. New Dry-Ban keeps you so dry you can see the difference.
How dry I am?
With new Dry-Ban.
One of the most controversial Supreme Courts of all time, the Warren Court, came to an end today. In a brief ceremony attended by President Nixon, Earl Warren swore in his successor, Warren Burger, as the 15th Chief Justice of the United States. Then the court recessed until October. Dan Rather reports.
16 tumultuous years after entering the Supreme Court as Chief Justice, Earl Warren left this afternoon tired and retired. He is going fishing, and after that, on a long, slow vacation overseas. To say goodbye to Warren on behalf of the nation and to welcome Warren Burger as the new Chief Justice, President Nixon personally addressed the Supreme Court in its chambers, the first president in office ever to do so. He later posed outside for group photographs, reflecting the law profession's attitude toward journalists in general and photographers in particular. The Supreme Court, without explanation, allowed no recording, picture, or sound of the historic moments inside the chambers. Once a political opponent of Earl Warren, when both were ambitious Californians, Mr. Nixon today praised him as a man of fairness, integrity, and dignity, a man who knew that better than being great is to be human. Warren, in his farewell remarks, said we must never forget that the Supreme Court has no constituency, that it serves no majority and no minority, it serves justice. The 61-year-old Burger was jovial throughout the morning. Some in the crowd who got a glimpse of him remarked how much he looks the part of a Chief Justice. He looks like Spencer Tracy or someone Central Casting sent over, said one lady. In the court ceremony, Burger spoke in a strong, steady voice as Warren administered the oath. Warren's voice was hesitant and punctuated by frequent clearings of the throat. Burger, who has disagreed with Warren decisions concerning rights of defendants in criminal cases, smiled, but did not address the court, other than to say, thank you. Dan Rather, CBS News, Washington.
On its final day, the Warren Court again dealt with the rights of accused persons in several cases. In one, the court extended the protection against double jeopardy to state courts in the 5 states whose constitutions do not assure it. In another, the court said that a convicted person who wins a new trial may be given a stiffer sentence the second time, but the judge must show the constitutional reason for it. Search and seizure is an area where the court generally has broadened police power, but today the court said police do not have the right to ransack the home of an arrested person without a search warrant, even though they have an arrest warrant, and pick up the person in his home.
Jeffrey, look what your star pupil's done.
Neat work.
Temperamental artist.
Temperamental? He hates me since we went out. You'd think I had bad breath.
Do you use Listerine?
No.
But you must. Listerine kills those nasty germs that can cause bad breath.
But it's so strong.
Of course. Strong to last long. What? Still working?
Mm-hmm. Working.
And so's the Listerine antiseptic. Kills germs, lasts for hours.
Well, when I'm at work and I have an uncomfortable feeling with a heartburn and acid, if I have my Rolaids, that will relieve me, and then I'm back to normal again. Well, I get an awful lot of heartburn and acid. I'm not my usual self. And I'll take out a Rolaid. That gives me my relief. And when I carry my Rolaids, I know I'm going to get my relief in minutes.
The U.S. command in Saigon said today that an estimated 10,000 enemy troops have moved into position around the provincial capital of An Lac, 60 miles north of Saigon, and officials said Allied units are preparing for a major attack there, possibly within a week. The North Vietnamese tried unsuccessfully last week to overrun another provincial capital, Tay Ninh. In the Central Highlands, 500 government troops moved out of the Special Forces camp at Ben Het today in an effort to open up a supply line to Dak To. About 2,000 North Vietnamese and Viet Cong have encircled the camp, and they have been shelling it for more than a month. Next month, the brigade of the U.S. 9th Infantry Division will become one of the initial units in the 25,000-man American force to withdraw from South Vietnam. The outfit is stationed in the Mekong Delta. CBS News correspondent Don Webster has a report on how the soldiers reacted.
Announcement that the 1st Brigade, 9th Infantry, will be one of the first units to leave Vietnam has obviously buoyed the spirits of a good many of the men. Headquarters sent down a band to play for the troops at Fire Base Moore near Dong Tam in the Mekong Delta. But if the purpose was to raise morale, the trip here may not have been necessary. This unit is being reassigned to Hawaii. As one GI said, not exactly a war zone. Not all of the men will go. Those who've just arrived in Vietnam will be transferred to some other unit and spend their full year here. But the big question is still, who is going home and when?
You think you'll be one of those that go home?
I really couldn't say. I certainly hope so.
Why do you want to go home now?
Well, I don't like getting shot at. That's why. Like that. That's why I want to go home.
I keep an eye out for the little things around the post, like around Dong Tam, like these large gray boxes here, connexes. I see the GIs start filling those up with supplies and things, and then I'll start getting excited because that means we'll be shipping out. See.
Rather than packing up to go already, quite the opposite is happening. The soldiers here continue to build and reinforce much as they always have. There is little sign a withdrawal is imminent. When the Americans leave, Fire Base Moore will be renamed and taken over as headquarters for the 12th South Vietnamese Regiment. For the Americans, the war here hasn't ended yet. If anything, action has picked up since the withdrawal announcement. These troops are firing their weapons to keep them serviceable and for target practice. But the sound carries across the rice paddies, letting any nearby Viet Cong know the Americans have not left yet. And there are Viet Cong nearby. Just the night before, this base had a mortar attack, its first in about 4 months. Officers think there is a connection between the imminent withdrawal and the attack. The commander of the 1st Brigade, Colonel John Hayes.
Well, I think the Viet Cong are going to test the capability of the ARVN Regiment in this area. However, I think with the level of training and the equipment that we've given them and that they have attained themselves as a result of their own independent operations and working with us, they'll be able to maintain a state of pacification in this province and continue the effort we began together.
then you think there might be heavy fighting here for the next few months after you're gone.
Yes, sir. I think that they will, in fact, have that as a theme for themselves after the 9th Division has left this area.
The band continues its midday serenade. Some of these GIs will be leaving. Others will remain. And probably a few will die between now and the time they are due to leave. There's one song the band plays which is especially popular. It's titled, I'm Comin' Home, Baby. I'm comin' home, baby. I'm sorry now I ever went away. I'm comin' home now. I know I'm overdue. Expect me any day now, real soon. I'm pressin' on, baby. The road is long, baby. Never more to roam. I'm comin' home. Don Webster, CBS News at Firebase Moore in the Mekong Delta.
South Vietnam's foreign ministry issued a statement today which appeared to reject any possibility of a special election in which the Viet Cong would be permitted to participate. President Nixon's peace proposal mentioned such a possibility, and recent remarks by President Thieu of South Vietnam indicated he went along with Mr. Nixon. But under the present Saigon Constitution, communist political activity is prohibited, and elections cannot be held until late 1971. Today's foreign ministry statement ruled out any constitutional amendments in those areas. Israel says that its commandos carried out an attack inside Jordan today and destroyed a $16 million irrigation system. A spokesman in Tel Aviv said the raid was in retaliation for Jordanian attacks on Israeli patrols across the ceasefire line. The same spokesman denied Egyptian claims that one of its commando units raided an Israeli position in the Sinai, killing 18 of the defenders. The Israelis said they killed at least 3 Egyptians in beating off the attack and lost none of their own men. International Red Cross officials said today that supplies of food and medicine in Biafra are all but exhausted. They warned that 3 million people there will be facing starvation unless there is an early renewal of emergency shipments. 3 weeks ago, the Nigerians shot down a Red Cross plane. The airlift to Biafra has been sharply curtailed since. In addition, an American-backed plan to ferry food to the Biafrans by river has run into difficulties with both sides. The Students for a Democratic Society, a disruptive force on the nation's campuses, has ended its national convention, disrupted itself. Murray Fromson reports from Chicago.
What remains of the SDS convention are discarded posters and literature calling for revolution and a split in the ranks that had been developing for 2 years. It boils down to personal animosity and a disagreement over the role SDS should play in the effort to end the Vietnam War and to assist the Black Revolution. It led to the expulsion of one faction which insisted SDS should regard the war and racism of secondary importance to the building of an alliance between workers and students. Spokesman for the ousted Progressive Labor Party read a statement but refused to answer newsmen's questions.
This split is reactionary because it is unprincipled. The leadership walked out not on principled grounds, but because they lost the support of the majority of the organization. The struggles led by SDS this year on campuses throughout the country were carried on the whole, in spite of, not because of those leaders who walked out.
We shall not let this struggle end in Chicago. Over the summer and next fall, we'll take the struggle back to the campuses. We shall rely on the people to further repudiate the splinter leadership and reaffirm that there shall not be 2 SDSs. We know that many people who were part of the group that left the convention do not support them politically and have serious doubts about the action. We appeal to these people to return to SDS and fight for their politics within the organization.
Less reticent to talk were the Revolutionary Youth Movement's Mark Rudd and his aides, who inherit the national office, the newspaper, files, and money of SDS.
You could say, if you laid out all the different positions, that there are points of agreement between us and the Progressive Labor Party. They would say that they agree with us that there's a right, that the black people and the brown people, the Vietnamese people, have a right to self-determination. It's not what they say that counts, it's what they do when they put their theory into action that counts. And as Mark pointed out earlier when he spoke, that what they do contradicts what they say. And on that basis, we had to expel them from the organization. There will be, in the regional areas and the local areas, some struggle with the Progressive Labor Party. As we are SDS, and they've been expelled because of their failure to support the struggles of the black people in this country and the other people fighting American imperialism, we're confident that it will be clear by the end of the summer who is SDS and what are the politics of SDS.
SDS leaders promise even greater militancy in the future than in the past. Their delegates have left Chicago even more deeply divided than when they arrived here, but that does not mean they have lost their capacity to cause trouble on the campuses or in the streets. SDS has never lacked for issues that arouse radical students and anger their parents. Murray Fromson, CBS News, Chicago.
The Dow Jones Industrials fell to their lowest since last August today. Volume on the New York Stock Exchange was 12,900,000 shares. Both the New York Index and the American Exchange Index were down 27 cents today. The Justice Department said today it will file suit to block the $6 billion merger of International Telephone and Telegraph with the Hartford Fire Insurance Company. The announcement gave no details about grounds for the suit. IT&T said that it intends to go through with the merger anyway and accused the Justice Department of trying to bend antitrust laws.
A Polaroid countdown camera is a new kind of camera. This model turns its light off and beeps the instant your color picture is perfectly developed. Just set the built-in timer, snap your picture, pull out the film packet, and when the light goes on, the camera starts counting down. When you own a countdown camera, even if you're distracted, the camera won't be. It tells you when your picture's ready, every time. There's a whole new line of countdown cameras. Some beep and some buzz. You can hear them at your dealers.
The Pentagon today issued a draft call for 29,500 men for the Army in August. It also announced a 13,000 reduction in the Army's overall strength. This will leave the Army with about 1.5 million men in uniform. Defense Secretary Laird said today that the military will continue to let members of the same family serve together if they request it. This policy was reviewed because of the deaths of the three Sage brothers of Niobrara, Nebraska, in the collision of the destroyer Evans and an Australian aircraft carrier. Laird said such tragedies are a matter of deep regret, but in the long run, it would be less compassionate to say that members of the same family may never voluntarily serve together. Laird and Director Richard Helms of the Central Intelligence Agency testified at a closed Senate hearing today about Russia's missile capabilities. This is an issue in the dispute over the Safeguard anti-ballistic missile system. Steve Rowan reports.
In March, Defense Secretary Laird's justification for building an anti-ballistic missile system was that the Soviet Union is trying to develop a first strike capability, the ability to knock out virtually all our missiles, bombers, and submarines in a single massive attack. The intelligence community, represented today by CIA Director Richard Helms, was reported to have disagreed with that assessment. On the basis of what was said after today's 4.5-hour closed-door session, it appears that Laird has either changed his mind or changed the definition of first strike capability.
This term, first strike capability, seems to have a new meaning. It is a term of art, or a word of art of the military. It used to mean a knockout first blow. It doesn't seem to have that meaning now.
What does it have now?
I'd rather Secretary Laird give you that interpretation.
Well, I believe that there is a difference between a first strike and a second strike weapon. I have always felt that. A first strike weapon can be used against hardened sites. A second strike or retaliatory weapon is used against soft sites. There is a first strike weapon, of course, can also be used as a second strike weapon. As far as the question is concerned about the agreement between Director Helms and myself, there has been no disagreement in any way on any intelligent data that was used before the House Appropriations Committee in the hearings on the ABM. And this has been cleared up, I believe, beyond a question of a doubt today, and this hearing has been very useful in that regard.
Well, I think that's an overstatement. I'm not prepared to begin drawing details now. It's too soon, and it's a very long and exhausting hearings, but I don't believe I would so characterize the meeting.
Senate opponents of the ABM obviously believe they found a chink in Laird's armor, and they intend to press the fight in a new series of hearings prior to next month's voting on the issue. Steve Rowan, CBS News, Washington.
Pope Paul said today that the Roman Catholic Church faces grave dangers from those who challenge church doctrine and his authority. Speaking to cardinals at the beginning of the 7th year of his reign, the pontiff said distrust of hierarchical authority seems to us the cause of many misfortunes which must be deplored by all who truly love the church. There are millions of dead fish in the Rhine today, and West Germany is trying to find out why. Some unknown pollutant has apparently poisoned the entire stock of fish in the 820-mile-long river that flows through Germany, Switzerland, France, and the Netherlands. Police loudspeaker trucks patrol the riverside, warning residents not to swim or fish in the Rhine or to eat fish from the river. The fish started surfacing last Thursday near Bingen, and by yesterday the river was reported carpeted with dead fish for more than 100 miles. The old Queen Elizabeth may be scrapped, a darn shame to do to any queen. The 82,000-ton ship, once the pride of Britain's transatlantic fleet, is up for sale for the second time. The Cunard Line sold it to a group of Philadelphia businessmen in May of last year for use as a hotel and convention center in Port Everglades, Florida. The deal fell through when the buyers lost some of their financing. Cunard is looking for other offers, but if they are not forthcoming by July 11th, the Queen will be sold for scrap. The Queen is 28 years old.
Springtime out here means more than mending fences. It's a time of chill early mornings and the smell of pine trees. A time when cattle are again in the high pastures where they'll graze away the spring and summer. It all happens in Marlboro country.
You get a lot tonight with a Marlboro filter, flavor, pack or box.
Come to where the flavor is. Come to Marlboro country.
Now to CBS News national correspondent Eric Severide for an assessment of the Warren Court, its decisions and their impact. Eric?
The Warren Court has met not just the man himself and his associates in the White Temple on Capitol Hill. It has met a distinct judicial era. The big, hearty Californian who played the title role these 16 years retires now, replaced by a new Chief Justice of a different cast of mind. And President Nixon, an apostle of more judicial restraint, has at least one more court appointment to make rather soon. But no sudden reversal of the work of the Warren Court is possible. Changes can come only slowly. And the foundation footings to the American House of Law added by the Warren Court will remain in most of their essentials for so long as anyone can now see ahead. America has always meant change in the affairs of men. The changes have often come in spasms and clusters. Court decisions have reflected and institutionalized the changes. In the early 19th century, the Marshall Court defined issues that involved the power and supremacy of the government itself. In Taney's time, issues involving the central government and the states. Around the turn of the century, in the period of immense industrial expansion, issues concerning corporate institutions. And later in the times of Holmes and Brandeis, the individual's relationship to the economic structure. That continued into the Warren era and intensified, with a focus on the individual's rights in relation to government at all its levels. The Bill of Rights became the lodestar to which the wavering needle of the legal compass came back again and again. In Warren's first 2 years as Chief Justice, there were the school desegregation decisions. Separate but equal was unconstitutional, inherently unequal. A series of decisions on voting rights. No political redistricting along racial lines, no identification of race on a ballot, poll taxes illegal in state elections, then no state laws to forbid interracial marriage, no discrimination in property transactions. A whole series on the rights of the criminally accused, no use of evidence illegally obtained in federal courts. The Gideon case, obliging states to supply counsel to impoverished defendants even in non-capital cases. Escobedo and Miranda, again involving a defendant's rights to counsel and advance notification by police of his various rights. The Galt case extending certain constitutional rights to juvenile defendants, and many more. Fundamental changes in political structure, obliging the states to apportion elective offices in accordance with the population pattern, one man, one vote. Schools and religion, no right of the state to oblige prayer in public schools. The famous school desegregation decision was made by a unanimous court. Many of the other critical decisions were made by heavy majorities in the court and therefore are unlikely to be altered, at least for years to come. A few of the issues involving rights of the accused versus the police authority were by one-vote margins, and it is in these areas that changes could come in a slowly reconstituted court. Not in the matter of police search, where the Warren Court broadened police power, if anything, more likely in the area involving confessions and their use. Many lawyers and some judges now complain that the rules on criminal procedures consequent to these high court decisions have become a forest of confusion. And it is this complaint that the new Chief Justice, Mr. Berger, has publicly echoed. He has ideas of his own as to how to rationalize these rules with the help of the bar associations. Earl Warren leaves the Supreme Court at the height of its power and influence vis-a-vis the other branches of this tripartite government. A far cry from the earliest days of this republic, when Alexander Hamilton said that the court had neither force nor will, no influence over sword or purse, no direction of the strength or wealth of the society. The Warren Court, like other famous courts in our history, altered the terms of our collective existence perhaps as much or more than did the presidencies concurrent with them. Mr. Warren himself was only one vote among 9, but in his personal size and strength and boldness as a man, he fitted the title role in what became a drama, a public morality play that has gone on now for more than his own 16 years on the court and will continue to perform to packed houses in the big white theater on the hill. Harry?
That's the news. This is Harry Reasoner. Good night.